I'm Steve Jewell. I'm from the Business School, from the Faculty of Business and Law, and I'm responsible for teaching postgraduate students. Well, I'm a big fan of the flipped approach because I thought my teaching was getting a bit stale, and I thought the flipped approach would improve my ability as a teacher and hopefully then transfer to giving the students a better learning experience. The benefits, I think that if we look at any sort of subject, there are what I call the fundamentals. And these are basically not debatable. So I think these sorts of things are probably not worth doing in class. I think it's wasting valuable face-to-face time. So the idea was that the students before the workshop would look at some short screencasts or podcasts or YouTube clips, so they got the fundamentals of the subject matter. So in the workshop we could explore more the nuances of the subject and a much more interactive debate between me and the students. And I felt that that would lead to a richer experience for both sides, really. I've tried it both ways, actually. Initially I let students think this is the way we teach, but I'm not so sure that is probably right. I think I may need to, and I've started to introduce students to the concept. Most of our students are international students, and we find that our style of teaching, our pedagogy, is quite different from most parts of the world. In most parts of the world it tends to be quite didactic, and there tends to be a high power distance between the student and the lecturer, and this is something that students, international students, are not used to. So I think there's quite a need to actually sell the flipped classroom to the students up front, and that's what I'll be doing in the future. Okay, generally it was just mere material for the students to look at, but one thing we did do, the first thing in class, was to have a real-time quiz through Moodle on the content of the work that I asked the students to look at beforehand, so that I could gauge their level of understanding. It was quite interesting because it also reinforced the lessons from the activities that were done before the workshop. I think the impact has been a bit mixed, to be honest, and I think we need to perhaps come back to the selling of the flipped classroom. I did an analysis of how many students did the activities before the workshop, and I found that something like about 60% did all the activities over a series of, let's say, 10 lectures. So another 20% did probably half of them, and disappointingly, about 20% did none of them at all. So I think there's a bit of work to be done there. Well, first of all, I would do it. I would experiment with it, because I think that I think it is a very valuable approach. Think about the materials before the workshop. I mean, what I tried to do is try to make them very short. So, for example, a screencast would be 5 minutes, podcast a similar sort of length. And if they're short, the students can actually then replay the material. I mean, one of the benefits of the flipped classroom is that students can do this in their own time, and they can replay the content, so that hopefully, if they've done that, when they come into the class, we're ready to go with some more sort of in-depth discussion of the area. So, and then the sort of things in the classroom really get the students involved, break them up into discussion groups, and that works quite well, because once students get used to that idea, then they will engage and talk to each other, then respond back to me.